Who hasn't heard of Doom? Who hasn't played Doom? Me. I haven't played Doom. For being one of the most revered game franchises in history, my Doom experience is shockingly limited. Outside of like 2 hours of Doom 2016 experience and many hours of listening to its soundtrack, I really don't know much about the franchise. So, I just thought that I should start with the first game, you know? I mean, like, where else is the better place to start? No, seriously, like, where else is the better place to start? If there's a better one and I made a big mistake, please let me know. But before we get into this, welcome to Tryon Maiden. My name is Tryon. This is entry number 2 into the Is It Still Good series. And if you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe or else I'm going to turn you into this thing. Let's get into it. Doom was released in 1993, back in the days of Jurassic Park, Are You Gonna Go My Way by Lenny Kravitz, or 10 Summoner's Tales by Sting if you're cool, and Bill Clinton. Contrary to what most people think, it was actually not the first first-person shooter game ever made. Shooter games have existed since the 1980s. But the genre as we know it today started in 1992 with Wolfenstein 3D, also developed by id Software. John Carmack, a co-founder of id, invented the 3D engine that Doom ran on. After the success of Wolfenstein, most of id wanted to create a new game, but with a darker tone. I don't know why they didn't think that, killing Nazis was dark enough, but here we are. So they came up with a simple idea. What if we make a game where we use technology to fight demons? And it worked. After months of development, Doom was a massive success, so popular that Bill Gates starred in Microsoft commercials superimposed into Doom. And that's Bill Gates. He did something computery. It really was a smash hit. It was indisputably revolutionary, and it not only brought the first-person shooter to the limelight, but is responsible for games like Halo and Call of Duty even existing in the first place. So, I say let's load in and see how the game is. Oh, Bethesda. So, how was she? Well, I don't want to say that, oh, this game is bad because it's old, because that's not what I'm saying. I actually had quite a lot of fun with Doom. Well, most of Doom, but we'll get to that later. There was just a lot of stuff that I wasn't super familiar with when playing this game, but before we get into all that, let's talk about some undeniable positives. The first thing that jumps out at me is the charm. I mean, yeah, you're killing demons, but it's charming, I guess? It's just got a specific feel that is just really indefinable unless you've played it. Like, I can't describe how it feels to play Doom other than playing Doom. The second thing that jumped out at me, admittedly, was its age. Not in a negative way, but like I said, a lot of the stuff in this game took some getting used to. For example, you can't look up and down, aim down sights, or jump. All standards that have become, well, standard in modern day iterations of first-person shooters. I actually kinda liked it. It was really interesting to play something that had this thing that I've become so used to stripped away. And this game is so stripped away, in fact, that it gave me absolutely no information about anything. Like, no tutorial, hardly any hints other than, you need a red key to unlock this door. How do you get the red key? I don't know. Run around the level for 30 minutes until you find it. I've gotten so used to hand-holding in games. Most modern games tell you exactly where you need to go, exactly what you need to do, step by step, and leave almost nothing up to the player. Looking at you, Rockstar Yellow Text! Now that doesn't make those games bad, but it was definitely a different experience to have nothing to work with and I have to build everything up on my own. It made for a very fulfilling experience, which I actually really appreciated. There's also like zero story. I mean, the whole point of the game is pretty much just, hey dude, you gotta fight demons. They're assholes. And that's good enough for me. It's sort of like the John Wick movies. The lore and stuff is interesting, sure, but I'm here for Keanu Reeves throwing knives into dudes' heads and saying, yeah. The main monkey business of this game, though, is the gameplay. And let me tell you, for the second FPS to come out, like, ever, it is so unbelievably smooth. And most of that is due to the gunplay. Every weapon feels so different from one another. The fists and the pistol are the last resort, only really being used when you really need to use them. The shotgun is the main weapon, the one you use most of the time. The one that you use a majority of the occasion that you're spending time in the game. That doesn't make sense. The Gatling gun is for groups of enemies, the plasma rifle is for taking down a big enemy quickly, the chainsaw is for maximum carnage, and the BFG is my favorite gun in the game. I think it's everyone's favorite gun in the game. The wide variety of guns really makes the combat feel very diverse, which is very impressive considering we're still in patient zero territory for shooter games. The only thing that I found a little challenging to overcome was the health system. Rather than most modern day games, which see you miraculously recover from bullet wounds as if you were friggin' Wolverine, you have to run around the map and find medikits and stim packs that heal you. Both misspellings of things that I am much more used to.
That shit look like a med kit.
It adds a ton of stress to the combat because once you're out of heals, you're out. And once you die, you lose all progress. It doesn't matter if you entered the level with every gun in the game, you're back to just a pistol if you die. I think the enemies in this game are super diverse and are kinda terrifying. I mean, invisible pigmen? I'm pissing my pants, I'm just gonna be honest with you. Each enemy poses a completely different threat, which leads the combat to become never boring. I also want to highlight the atmosphere of this game. I mean, it is just incredible. It's a perfect juxtaposition of hellscapes and spaceships, a flawless mix of horror and sci-fi, and you can't really go wrong with that 80s metal styled soundtrack, which you can tell that I liked, giving my endless references to 80s metal musicians while playing the game. I love listening to Pastor of Muppets. Is that Lars Ulrich? Is that Dave Mustaine? Is that Bruce Dickinson? However, Doom is not all glitz and glory. There were a few things that I didn't think aged as well as others. Yeah, I got some negatives. What of it? You gonna call me a snowflake liberal pansy? You're the snowflake liberal pansy here, son. While Doom was an overall good experience, actually great experience, there were a few things that kinda irked me. First off, I wasn't a big fan of the bosses. There really wasn't much that was interesting about them other than they're big, scary, and have a lot of health. They also just kind of show up without any weight. You walk into an overcompensatingly large room and are basically hit with, yeah, you gotta whack this fool. And then you whack that fool and the level ends. But my biggest complaint by far is the level design. I have no idea if that's controversial, and I hope it isn't because I would really come across as an ass if it is, but I don't really like it. It's just very convoluted. There isn't a whole lot of visual difference between sections, so a lot of the areas within levels blend together. Plus, when it's just one big wide open space like a couple of levels in this game, it is really easy to lose track of where you are. I mean, look at this map! That is so much! I mean, kudos to the devs for including this much game in this game, but sometimes this much game is too much game, and then GameStop makes sense to me smooth brain. This is especially true on levels where you have to use 3 different keys to unlock 3 different doors to a certain teleporter, each one having to be used in a certain order to unlock a room within a bigger room, but you're always teleported back to the same spot, so you have to run around, do some trial and error in order to make sure that you got every teleporter. It's just a lot. Now, this isn't every level. There were a ton that I felt were really well put together. Short, simple, sweet, perfect. It was mainly on the longer levels where this convolutedness really shone, but shown in a bad way. I really hate having to look things up in order to beat a game, but when it's my only option against running around for another 30 minutes trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do, I really don't like it. But oh, do I wish those are my only complaints. I was having a really good time with Doom. I liked it quite a bit, but then I defeated the Robo-Brain Spider thing and went to Chapter 4. And if you haven't played Doom's Chapter 4, let me sum it up for you. Ah! Oh my god! Oh my god! Hell is not a place that's only accessible after death! It's real, and we're in it! We're in it right now! I mean, my lord. Hot diggity dog! Another thing that I really hate doing in video games is cheating and lowering the difficulty. Which I did here because my sanity would not have survived if I didn't. And I do feel really bad because, I wanted to experience this game, naturally, but this was so unbelievably challenging that I physically couldn't. I'm just gonna play my raw reaction after beating Doom Chapter 4. Yeah. I'm calling it there. I don't know if I technically beat Doom, but I'm gonna say I beat Doom because I physically cannot do it anymore. I don't want to say this broke me, but that was rough towards the end there. That was really, really, really rough, and I don't know exactly how that was brutal. That was brutal. And I'm keeping in all of this just so that way I don't play myself up as some sort of god gamer who doesn't back down from a challenge. I wanted to portray my natural first experience with Doom without, you know, lying to you, basically. I wanted to play this like I normally would, instead of playing this like how I would for a video. So if you don't think that I beat Doom legit, that's fine with me. I don't think I beat Doom legit. I skated through, just barely eked by. But I did beat Doom in the way it was released throughout 1993. 3 episodes, baby! That's all you need! I at least tried. I did up the difficulty back to normal on every level, and I only had to lower it or go to God mode a couple of times. But all in all, I still experienced most of this game the way it was intended to be experienced. And I did enjoy it. That's why this is under my negative segment. It legitimately gave me a headache, which, honestly, if that was the intention, maybe I did experience Doom the way it was meant to be played. Doom was an experience, to say the least. On the bright side, I loved how stripped back this felt. It was a very raw gaming experience, and one that I'd recommend to anybody who wants to see how the most popular genre of video games got popular. While I think it does have a few missteps by modern standards, I can't really knock it for that, because there was nothing to go off of when this game was released. So, is Doom still good? Yeah, I think so. It hasn't aged poorly, and it's a damn good time. So yeah, Doom is still good. That's about it. Hey guys, it's me, standing in the rain, with my head hung low. I couldn't get a ticket. It was a sold-out show. I heard the roar of the crowd. I could picture the scene. I put my head to the wall, and like a distant scream, I heard one guitar that just blew me away. Something, something, something. And the very next day, I bought a beat-up 6-string at the second-hand store. I didn't know how to play it, but I knew for sure